Hello, Professor Smith. Very pleased to have you here today with us. And can you first please tell us a little bit about yourself and your expertise, please?
Hello, Elizabeth. I'm happy to be here as well. I look forward to this interview. I work as an American Sign Language professor here on campus in the special education building. I've started working here since last fall. I was a high school professor for 3 years, and I've also worked at several community colleges. I transferred here because I was accepted with work. I've been a teacher for American Sign Language since 2013.
Oh, wow. Well, definitely welcome to our San Jose State University. We're very happy to have you here. Well, let's begin maybe asking you to please explain or tell us what is this deafness and hard of hearing, and is this a correct term or appropriate term, I should say, to address people with varying degrees of audiological conditions and varying modalities of communication, and please.
The term deafness and hard of hearing are both appropriate terms to refer to that group of individuals. The term deaf has varying meanings. There is a medical perspective and a cultural perspective, where the term deaf is used in both settings. A hard of hearing person may be able to hear more than a deaf person. They have some more abilities through such devices like hearing aids. Some even can hear without a lot of help.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So some hard of hearing prefer to be labeled as deaf because I feel a part of that community and that culture. Sometimes deaf people represent themselves with a capital D. I am deaf. Capital D-E-A-F.
Okay.
I am one of those people.
Oh.
I grew up learning sign language.
I see. So I was told that maybe it's not quite okay to use this hearing impaired term because that may give some negative connotation. What do you think? Is that we should not use this?
From my personal experience, I feel yes. It's a negative.
Okay.
It has a negative connotation to it.
I see.
It's a word based on oppression, and it states that deaf people can't do certain things. It's a negative label. What's interesting is that people will say hearing impaired as a deaf gain.
Oh.
Instead of hearing loss.
Okay.
Deaf gain is used instead of hearing loss.
Can you elaborate more about this deaf gain?
It's a cultural meaning. It's not a loss. It emphasizes that we do not have a loss. We're merely deaf. Some people who have hearing loss, they may say, I have a deaf gain because of my deafness. It takes back that negative connotation and changes it to something more positive.
Okay, I see, all right. Then maybe can you explain also some of the characteristics for those deafness and deaf and hard hearing students, some of the common characteristics you might demonstrate?
It can be really difficult, even for me,
Right,
to observe and identify their characteristics.
right.
There are so many
Mhm.
varying types of students,
Yeah.
and we have to be careful at how we approach them
Mhm.
and respect them as a person.
Mhm.
We must ask them, how can we support you?
Okay,
Let them lead us.
okay, I see. Yeah, then for a faculty, when they teach a class, since deafness, as I have just learned from you, have different degrees or deafness, then it also seems to be up to the student to disclose to the faculty. What can the faculty, any tips you could share, what can the faculty do to support?
For this setting, academic, the DHHS, Deaf Hard of Hearing Services, they will contact the staff
Okay. Okay.
to let them know that there will be a deaf student in the class.
I see. Okay.
There are do's and don'ts that they also send the professor, so they are aware.
Alright.
Beyond that, it's up to the staff
Okay.
to interact with the student. For example, they may not have an interpreter in the class.
Yes.
Some students will only have a captioner. It's a person who sits in the class and types everything that is said
Okay.
into text. Currently, as we have now, an interpreter, that's a good example
Okay.
of how we can effectively communicate.
Yes.
And interpreters also have a team. So it's important for the staff and student to address each other directly. In first person as well. For example, hi, how are you? Not asking the interpreter to ask the deaf student, please, do you mind telling the student
I see.
how she or he is doing? That is one good thing to remember
Okay.
when interacting with the
I
student
see.
that has an interpreter. Those that have a captioner, it's the same idea. Direct communication to the student.
Okay.
Yes, the student cannot hear the professor, but maybe they can write back and forth, or the captioner can be a communicator for them.
Okay.
There are varying situations on how it could work.
I'm going to ask you if you can help explain a little bit further about the interpreter and captioner. Does captioner do anything different than interpreter?
Yes. An interpreter, also labeled as a sign language interpreter, signs or interprets what the teacher, professor, or faculty is stating.
Yes.
An interpreter must relay that information into the student's preference. Also, when the deaf student is making a comment, the interpreter will then voice for the student. On the other hand, a captioner, from my experience, I've had a captioner, so this is based on my experience only. Typically, they will sit in the front across from me, and I have a computer, and I'm reading what they are transcribing.
I see. Okay.
As the professor is speaking,
Okay.
they are captioning, and I'm reading
Everything.
everything.
Okay.
Almost like what you see on TV
Okay.
with the news or movie. There are captions.
Okay.
It's live caption.
All right.
Sometimes you see a mistake and the captioner will
Yes,
back
yes.
up and then
Okay.
fix it. I think that's pretty cool.
Then does that mean you can save whatever the captioner has typed and to review again, kind of like a recording?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Okay.
That's another reason some students prefer a captioner.
Okay.
There is one negative. The student may not be able to, you know, if they have a question and they want to add something to the class, it is based on their speech ability, if they can speak or not for themselves. Sometimes they want to make a comment directly to the teacher, but the captioner doesn't interpret for the deaf student.
Oh, okay.
It's a one-way.
Okay. So the
Correction.
captioner can only sort of transcribe what the teacher or faculty has said, but cannot speak for you. I see. Okay.
Correct. Exactly.
I see.
So the student must speak for themselves. And generally, hard of hearing students have
Okay.
captioners.
Oh.
They
okay.
can speak for themselves.
Oh, okay, so that's very good, so now I understand. So hard of hearing student with probably limited hearing will most likely use captioner. And for a completely deaf student, will be using an interpreter. Okay.
It depends.
Oh, it still
I
depends.
shouldn't label and speak
Huh.
on behalf of all
Okay,
deaf people
I see. All right.
who have. It just depends.
Okay.
I myself am deaf.
Mm-hmm.
I use sign language,
Mm-hmm.
but I've had captioners before.
Okay,
And I have reasons for that.
I see, okay. All right. Then I guess as a faculty, so these are this situation you just described, so they are more visible, and most likely the AEC will inform the faculty. Is it possible then some of the student probably choose not to disclose because they think they can handle it, maybe with some hearing aid? Is that possible?
Unfortunately, that has happened.
Okay.
Some students don't request help. They prefer to show up to class as if nothing
Okay.
happened for them, as if they were just one of them. They have yet arrived at that point when they're willing and able to request for help
I see.
and other services, such as hearing devices.
Okay.
It's an unfortunate situation.
Okay.
Students who
Mhm.
request assistance through the AEC, so the AEC and DHH, they won't announce
Okay.
to the whole class.
I see.
I want to let you all know that we have a deaf student here who has some needs.
Okay. Yeah.
Usually,
Okay.
there's direct communication between the professor and those offices. It's very confidential to respect the deaf student.
Okay.
And it is recommended that the professor keep that confidentiality throughout the semester.
So the key point is for the faculty getting the cue, asking questions directly to the student and see how the faculty can support the student. That's the key.
Yes.
Good.